I really love noir. It's one of my favorite genres, but it's a pretty inherently sexist genre. Like, one of the big tropes is the trope of the femme fatale. And I hate that trope a little bit, even though I always enjoy reading it. It was about 10 o'clock on a Friday in mid-July. The Los Angeles night warm and dry, the only wind rising from the whoosh and zoom of traffic on Rossmore. I was wearing a slinky black dress, black patent leather platform pumps, silver cascade earrings, and a black lambskin clutch. I was perfumed, manicured, and impeccably coiffed. I was everything a half-employed 20-something should be on the sober end of a Friday night. I was calling on an open bar at Luke's new apartment, ready to spend a little time and respectability on a blurry and colorful evening. When I was first writing it, I wrote kind of more of a direct Chandler rip in that I wanted to write a novel where the main character didn't have a past. Like, I thought that was interesting about Marlowe. I always thought that was fun that he could pull that off. Turns out that doesn't work. It's an amateur detective novel, and if you have a character without a past who is also not a PI, it just makes no sense. That was kind of the fatal flaw of my first draft. Well, there's female trauma, like there's the female murder victim, and then there's the female protagonist, which are two very different and sometimes opposite things in that, I think Edgar Allan Poe wrote about the most beautiful thing in the world being like a dead, young, beautiful woman.
There you go.
And I think it was this great essay about how he wrote The Raven. I think it's called The Art of Composition. And he talks about this, how there's just something incredibly poignant about a beautiful young woman who is also dead. And this is a problematic thing, I think. And I think youth and beauty are fetishized in conjunction with death, which, you know, in a society where women are getting murdered and raped and that's sensationalized. I mean, that's a problem. I have an issue with that. On the other hand, like, I understand it. Like, I understand why that story appeals to people. There's this idea of innocence cut down or beauty cut down that really appeals to both men and women. And usually when you have this story, the person investigating is a man. So Black Dahlia is a perfect example of that. And that's a story where, these many detectives get super embroiled in the story of the Dahlia and try to figure out what happened to her. And there's this undercurrent of, oh, maybe they're falling in love with this person as they're investigating her, even though she's dead. When I wrote this book, I had only read kind of the classics. I had read Hammond and Chandler and some Mosley, some Elroy, and I hadn't really read much else. And now I feel like I have a better idea of the landscape. I think since I've sold this, I've discovered a lot of cool female neo-noir writers like Denise Mina, Gillian Flynn even, Megan Abbott, and there's like a whole group of them, Attica Locke, like doing very cool things. And I guess I can't say that they were a direct influence on this one, but they will be going forward, I'm sure. I'd say Veronica Mars was a big influence. I watched that in college around the same time I was reading Chandler novels, and just seeing how well it could be done from a woman's point of view. And also with kind of this tongue-in-cheek understanding of the genre, I thought that was interesting. And yes, Brick, I watched that around the same time. I think that came out when I was in college, and I watched it with like a couple friends, and it just like blew my mind.
Yeah.